What's up, college football fans? Sonoy Valente here once again with the Mean Green Show. Today, joined by Jared from Alamo Dome Audible. Jared, thank you so much for jumping on with us. And we're going to jump into this UTSA Houston matchup, which is a really big G5 Texas college game this week. There's multiple ones. But Jared, real quick, man, how's summer been? It's finally football season for you, so I know you and Adrian have a ton of things going on now. But if you can just kind of catch us up on how you've been and what do you guys have going on currently?
Oh man, we launched our new website this year, and it's been a long time in the making, right? So in the past, all of our content's been spread around, all these different sites and all that. And we always wanted to have like one-stop shop kind of deal. So super proud of how that came out. That's been a lot of my focus for this year. And, we've just been cranking out content nonstop, 3 to 5 posts a week, it feels like, and just keeping it rolling into the season, man. It's been a good time. We've had a lot of growth, and the subscribers are really pumped up. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me, man. Just staying really busy.
Yeah, I mean, all my content is pretty short and stuff, but it's, I'm not saying it's a lot of work, but there's some stuff that goes into it. Your guys' stuff is way more elaborate, so I can only imagine the legwork that goes into that. But anyway, so everybody, if they want to find you, they can find you at Alamo Dome Audible on all the podcast platforms. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. You can always just go to alamodomeaudible.com now. Listen to the podcast there. We have all of our platforms there. And then on Twitter, we're actually Alamo Audible, because Alamo Dome Audible is too long for Twitter. But we're Alamo Dome Audible everywhere else on social media.
All right. And they're on YouTube too. If you're lazy like myself, you just like to do a quick search and you can find them there too. And great insight as always.
Yep. We're trying to do some cool like travel videos this year. We did one last year that people love. So trying to step that up a little bit in 2022.
All right, Jared. Well, yeah, we just, really, I want to hear your take on this UTSA Houston match, and how do you feel? And just, I mean, what are you expecting this Saturday?
I think more than anything, it's going to be a great game. I think that's the expectation on both sides. Right? You talk to fans, talk to UTSA fans, and everyone thinks the game's going to be close. I haven't seen anyone say, "Oh, my team's going to win by 20." Right? I haven't seen anyone have that opinion, but I've seen everybody say it's going to come down to the wire. The team that turns the ball over less is probably going to win. So I think both teams, they bring back the majority of their team. Both sides of the coin lost several guys that are going and having pretty good starts to their NFL career, right? So I think like there's some question marks to be answered on both sides of the ball for both teams. But for the most part, we know what both offense and defense is going to look like for both the Runners and the Cougs. So I think it's just gonna be more of like, who's going to excel the most. I think both these teams are going to be great this season. And, I think it's going to be a back and forth boxing match of sorts. And I can totally see this come down to the last possession, no doubt.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. It seems like Houston has a few freshman receivers. I'm just kind of looking at their roster right now, and Samuel Brown as well as Matthew Golden.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, maybe the inexperience will play to UTSA's favor, but also it's kind of, there must be some talented freshmen to make it on the field so quick at Houston, right?
Yeah, because, I mean, they recruit really well at the wide receiver position year in and year out, right? So it's not like they got a bunch of chumps that, are getting passed up by these guys. So I'm not expecting those freshman receivers to be, anything less than stellar. They might make some freshman mistakes, of course, but yeah, I definitely expect them to be a big challenge.
Yeah. And how much better do you feel as a UTSA fan that it is in the Alamo Dome?
I don't know if I'd pick this game to be close if it was in Houston. I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm a big believer in the noise level in the dome. I think people can sleep on it. They're like, oh yeah, they're going to have 30, 40,000, whatever. But you really have to multiply that within the dome. It just, it amplifies the noise so much. And it does sound like Houston is like really prepared for it more than most teams. I'm always checking out, interviews.
What have you heard about that?
Man, they're very focused on UTSA. They are not looking ahead at all. And it's a little bit strange as a UTSA fan to see so much respect paid by, they're not in the Power 5 yet, but in my mind, I still see Houston as on a different tier than UTSA, as far as like what resources available to them and the history of the program and all of that. But Daniel Holgorsen talks about UTSA like they're a playoff contender, and maybe some of that's coach speak, but it does feel genuine that they're really taking this game seriously and they really view it as like a worthy opponent for them. So I don't expect it. Like UNLV last season, like their head coach Marcus Arroyo, there was a little viral clip on Twitter where a reporter asked, have you prepared for the noise in the Alamo Dome? And he's like, I don't know, should I? And then they had like 8 false starts that game or something like that. So I don't foresee a situation like that. But I do think the noise is going to help UTSA a lot. And I think the energy in there is going to be really electric. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of an equalizer that I think benefits UTSA a little bit.
So obviously, you guys, our UTSA loses Sincere McCormick, which he was the man for UTSA, right? I mean, he was super good, but in my opinion, and I'm not trying to take a dig at him, but I feel like his more than anything, his greatest talent was his vision. I don't feel like he was a blow away, super size, super speed, but anyway, good vision coupled with your good O-line, everything. He made a great career for himself at UTSA, and unfortunately, injuries, right? But played his way to, getting into some camps at the NFL, which I think was well deserved. However, you guys have brought in Traylon Smith, who I believe has earned the starting job as running back 1 for you guys out of Arkansas. And this is not some guy who just, rode the pine at Arkansas. Last year he rushed for over 500. The year before that, I think over 700. Played some real meaningful football for Arkansas and produced. Yeah. And coming out of Houston, I believe this, but I really want to hear your thoughts on it. I feel like he has the potential. I'm not saying he will, and stat wise, he only has 1 year, I believe, compared to the year Sincere had. But as far as just a 1 year production, I really do feel like he has the potential to raise the bar from as high as Sincere set it. I feel like Traylon could honestly raise it. What are your thoughts with Traylon?
I don't know if production's the right word. I don't think Traylon's going to get 30 carries a game like Sincere got. That was what made Sincere really unique, right? Like he wasn't the fastest guy, not the strongest guy, anything like that, but he was extremely durable, more than many running backs you'll see out there. So, Traylon gets half the carries as Sincere got, which I think is probably going to be pretty close to what we'll end up seeing throughout the course of the year. I think his efficiency is going to be a lot better. It's kind of interesting when you look at like advanced metrics for UTSA, like their run game is way lower rated than their passing game, which kind of shocks people because, Sincere McCormick is a great running back, obviously. But when you look at how UTSA used Sincere McCormick, they're just feeding him the ball over and over. And it was just a lot of like 3 yards in a cloud of dust. And then boom, he breaks the big one, right? And, if that got it done, he was extremely successful. But I think, this year would kind of a platoon situation with Brendan Brady coming back for a super senior year and then Traylon transferring in from Arkansas. I think you're going to see those guys interchange a lot. And I think you're going to see those guys just be a lot more fresh, throughout the games and get more of those medium term, 10-yard pickups and stuff like that. So that's kind of my hope and my expectation. But obviously Sincere leaves a big void as far as like leadership and dependability and stuff like that. So we'll just have to see the rest of the unit kind of pick up that slack.
Yeah, so obviously last year, UTSA went on a Cinderella storybook run, and like any G5 school, if your school is going to go, that long without losing a game, you're going to pick up some new fans. That's just anywhere, right? But obviously, guys like you and Adrian, you guys have been there, through the Larry Coker days, through the Frank Wilson days, and you've seen. You've gone through the rain to get to the sunshine, right? You've earned it. Right. Not to say that obviously every fan is important, especially at the G5 level. So it's not to dismay new fans. However, is there any concern because the schedule's front heavy? It's Houston, Army, then Texas, right? And obviously Houston's tough. Army, they're just weird. Anything I never want to bet against Army. It's just, especially with another G5 school, it's just weird. And then Texas is Texas, right? And another, super Power 5. So it's very much in the cards to have at least one loss, if not two, in those first 3.
And 3 is feasible too.
It's possible. Yeah,
not write that off.
Yeah, it's possible. But is there any concern that you feel like Jeff Traylor, to the UTSA fan base anyway, not so much admin and all that, but could maybe fall victim to his own success, being that like again these new fans that we just kind of talked about, like coming, we're expecting 9-1, 10-2 seasons now from here on out, which is just not, unfortunately, probably not the reality for G5 schools for the most part. Not, maybe you can get built up to that, but it's probably not going to happen overnight necessarily. But do you think there's any concern of like, oh, wow, like if you guys even lose one game, that some of the fans like, oh, like the newer fans, that is like, oh, okay, like I guess we're just not, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair and valid concern. And, I think we have seen it in the past at UTSA. Like, thinking like the 2014 season, UTSA did great. 2013, expectations were higher than they ever been. Yeah, and, they had a pretty mediocre 2014 season. And then that's when ticket sales dropped, right? And they didn't recover until, I guess, last year. So, San Antonio is as much of a bandwagon, city as any, pro sports town, right? And that translates over to UTSA as well. UTSA does have a lot of fans that didn't go to UTSA. Maybe, they went to Big Ten school and then moved to San Antonio, but they come check out the games and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, the fan base can totally be fickle. And I completely agree with you that, Joe Traylor might be a little bit of a victim of his own success. I think he's enough goodwill now that, like, unless UTSA misses a bowl or something, I think people are still going to be pretty on board with him. But yeah, I think like the message I've been trying to get out to the fan base is like, this team can be better, but have a worse record. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? That's college football. Last year was such an anomaly. The schedule was easy peasy. So many one possession games that UTSA got the luck of the draw on, right? So you can't expect to have that level of luck each and every year. And even if UTSA is considerably better, you still have to have things kind of break your way in football. Like, it's like the old saying, any given Saturday, any given Sunday, any team can beat any team, right? That's just the reality of football. It's small sample size, and these two teams, score out for 4 quarters, right? So that's totally a valid concern. And, I honestly, I hope UTSA wins all 3 of them.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting to see how the fan base reacts if it doesn't play out that way.
One last question. If you could be so bold, can we get a point prediction for you for this Saturday when UTSA hosts Houston?
Yeah, so I have Houston winning 35-31, and
Okay.
man, I really think it's going to come down that last drive, man. Whether it's UTSA on offense or whether the Cougs, come and take it at the end. I really think it's going to come down to that, and I think I could see like a turnover at the end of the game deciding it or something like that. I think it's just going to be really back and forth and just a really dramatic but entertaining game is the way I see it. I won't be surprised by any outcome. I guess the only thing that would surprise me is if there was a blowout, but anything other than that, won't be surprised at all.
Yeah, so if you're a UTSA fan, pack your Xanax, I guess, because it's probably going to be pretty stressful.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Same for the Houston fans I've talked to as well. I think they kind of know what they're getting into as well.
Yeah. Well, all right, Jared. Well, thank you so much once again for jumping on, and we'll see what happens Saturday. It's going to be a fun one, though, for sure. Might be the G5 game of the week. Honestly, I mean, I can't think of one that's.
I don't know. I mean, App State hosts North Carolina, so that's huge for them.
Oh yeah, I guess I meant more G5 to G5.
G5 versus G5. Yeah. I think I'd have to say so.
Yeah. Well, all right. Thank you once again, and take care, and we'll talk soon.
All right, thanks, man. It's always blessed.